What's up guys, welcome back to another video, and this video is going to be a video on Flutter authentication, guys. Now I have been saying in my past few videos that I have been working on projects, and that's why I haven't been able to make videos for you guys lately, right? So a few of you guys have been asking me what's the difference between working on a real project and and working on a basic tutorial video. Now let me get a few things out here, guys. First of all, whenever real businesses or big organizations want an application or want to run their businesses through a mobile application, and they approach you, they won't usually prefer Firebase. Firebase is good for MVP, guys. Firebase is good for something that you want to create really quickly and then showcase it out to the users. But scaling up, it'll become really expensive in a really short span of time. Also, if you don't configure your rules perfectly, then you'll be leaking data all over the internet, guys. So big business won't prefer Firebase. They usually ask you to use some other database. So this is one database that I have used previously, and I wanted to show you guys how to how to do authentication from your Flutter apps into this particular database. This is MongoDB. Okay, this is one of the most popular databases now in the world, and is being used by a lot of, as you can see here, it's being used by a lot of big names as well. So I thought I'll show you guys how to set up this particular database and how to store users, add new users, or just authenticate a new user whenever he tries to log in using his mobile application. The mobile application will be using Flutter to create it, and the server will be an Express server, and the entire Node app will be running on Heroku. And for database, we'll be using this Mongo database. This will be hosted on the cloud as well. Now, as you can see here, they themselves give us the cloud. Okay, it's a bit they have a free tier and a paid tier as well. So let me just sign in. If you don't have a account, just sign up for the free tier. Now I already have an account, so I'll just sign in. Alright guys, now I have logged into MongoDB Atlas. This is the cloud version, and the thing is, you won't be seeing a screen exactly like this if you are a new user. You will be just asked to create a project. I already created a project called Raja org, and inside this project I have first you will be asked to create an organization, and then inside that you will be asked to create a project, which is the test project that I have here, and then inside that project you will be asked to create a new cluster. Okay, now I already have a cluster, but if you haven't created one, just you will see a screen like this. Just choose AWS or whatever provider you want, and then there is choose one of the areas that has a free tier. Okay, choose one of the regions that has a free tier, and then this M30 is not free. Okay, the free one is M0, I think. M0 sandbox. This is the free one, free forever. Okay, but this is only one per free user. So I have already created a cluster, one cluster. So this is just one per project. If you are using if you are on the free tier, this cluster you can just create only one per project, and just click on create cluster. That's it. Once you have created the cluster, let me just get back here. Once you have created the cluster, you need to give create a user for database access. So just get into database access, and then just click on add new database user, and then enter a user. That's it. You don't need to do anything here. Just create a new user and then click on add user. I already have a user here that I have created just now. So I'll be making use of this user. You can also define custom roles for database users in case you have staff in your company and you want to give them some privileges as well. Now that's okay. Get back to clusters, and then once you have done all that, you will be you would need to create a DB as well. I have created one called test DB, and you will be seeing all this. Okay, now there are options here as well. Chats is nothing. These are simply Realm is an entirely new section. Realm is like, how do I say this? They have built a lot of cool features on top of the existing Mongo database, guys. Okay, I'll make separate videos on Realm. Realm right now, the reason why I'm not showing is it doesn't support Flutter, I think. It just supports native iOS, Android, and React Native, I think. Wait, let me check it. Sorry, mobile. See, iOS, Android, and React Native. Okay, So but I think the support will soon be available, and once it's available I'll show it. But Realm is really cool, guys. If you want, you can try it on you can try it. It's like really cool. They have built a lot of cool new features on top of MongoDB, in which you can make the interaction is made much more simpler. You just try it out, guys. Just try it out. Right now, let's proceed on with the scope of this video. The scope of this video is to show how to authenticate a user or how to add a user to MongoDB from your Flutter application, right? Let's just stick to that and move on with that. Now, now that you have created a DB, you can just, if you have done everything so far, then if you just click on collections, you will be able to see that particular database, and if you have any data stored on that database, it will be displayed as well. Now, I might have a couple of users stored on the database already. As you can see here, we have a couple of users stored on the database. Now let's go ahead and okay, this is all that you need to configure in the Atlas, MongoDB Atlas. Before proceeding with this video, let me point out that this video is entirely going to be based on this particular video that I made 4 years ago. For at that time I was using Ionic for building mobile applications, guys. That time I was building a REST API authentication system. This video will be exactly similar to this particular video. Okay, that was back in 2016. So yeah, let's proceed, guys. First, even if you don't have if you don't know anything about JavaScript and you just know a little bit of Flutter, that's totally fine. By the end of this video, you'll know it. Okay. Now, the first thing you need to do is install something called Nodejs. If you have Nodejs, or if you have worked already with Nodejs, then that's fine. For those who don't have that, kindly install Nodejs. Okay. There are separate instructions for Linux, Mac, and Windows. I have installed for Linux, since this machine is an Ubuntu machine. I have installed for Linux. And the next thing you need is just open up a terminal. Okay, I have installed the current version. The next thing you need to do is just create a directory. And then just type npm init. Okay, it will give you some options like this. Just hit enter. Version 1.0 authentication system for Flutter apps. Entry point, I'll just give server.js. Okay, I usually go along with index.js. Sometimes I just change it to server.js. This command is fine. Git repository is fine. Keywords is fine. Author, I can just give my name. License, I'll just give MIT, and then just give code. This will open up this project in VS Code. If you are using some other code editor IDE, then that's fine as well. You can simply use that. Most of the modern IDEs will definitely support Node.js application, so there's no problem in that. You will see that you just have a package.json file. That's it. Now I'll be installing few dependencies. You can go ahead and install that as well. So I'll just give npm I. First I'll install Express, and then for logging stuff I'll just use something called Morgan. This is an excellent logger. And then course for cross-origin resource sharing. And then I'll use something called Passport. This is our JWT strategy. To create a JWT strategy, I'll use something called body parser. And I'll also install something called .env environment, mongoose, connect mongo. Mongoose is it's like a thing that you can use to create schemas on your NoSQL database. That is the Mongo database. Okay. And then if I just hit enter, it will save all those. Okay. Now that this is done, we just missed out a couple of dependencies. We'll install those as well. bcrypt, this is for encrypting the password before storing it. Sorry, npm I bcrypt, and Express I installed already, right? Yeah, Express I installed. JWT simple. This is the JSON web token thing. While this is getting installed, let me just go ahead and create a file here called server.js. This will be the entry point, right? So I'll just go ahead and create this. Get back to package.json. And I'll increase the font size so that you guys can have a bit. Okay, this seems better, right? Okay, now you have installed all these dependencies. Let's just modify the script a little bit so that we can have a oh, we didn't node mon is like this will automatically reload. This is a npm package that will automatically reload the application whenever there is a change, guys. Okay, that's this node mon. And now that we have all these, let's just go ahead and first we'll save this, get into server.js and start coding. Alright, now I have created some static variables here. This I'll be making use of. Now I haven't created this config db yet, right? So I'll just go ahead and create something called config, and inside this I'll create a new file called db.js. Okay, now let me just get back into server.js, and first I'll just connect db. Inside db.js I need to write some code for this, right? So I'll use mongo constant mongoose equals require. This is simply like an import statement, guys. Okay, mongoose, and then constant db config equals require db config. Fine. db config we don't have. db config.js. Inside db config we'll just do module.exports equals secret. This is a secret variable that we'll be using for our JSON web token strategy. I'll just give your secret. You can use anything here. And a database, we need this database URL. So this database URL, you need to know where we could get it, right? Just get back into here. Okay, and there is something called connect, right? Click on this. You will see three things. Just click on the middle one, connect your application. You see this database URL, right? Just copy this and then paste it here. Okay, just ensure that you change your password here. Okay, now get back here, const connect db. This is the function that we were trying to call. So this there are two ways. You can simply write it as function, the regular JavaScript, or you can use the new thing, async async try constant connection equals I'll just give it as con equals await mongoose dot connect, and we need the URL, right? dbconfig dot database. If this is connected, then I'll just, this is a function, and inside this I'll just give some options. Now if once this is connected, console.log MongoDB connected, fine. Now this, once this is connected, this will simply print this message. After that we can just cache the error and then console.log error process.exit. This is nothing but to say the server to stop here. One means error, okay, with an error, that's it. Okay, and now we just need to module.exports equals connect db. Fine. Now wherever this db.js file is imported, we can simply make use of this connect db, since we are exporting this from this particular file. So here I have pulled this up, right? So I'm using connect db, which means that as soon as the server is started, it will automatically try to connect the database. Now that this is done, just create an app using express, and then we can just simply use the logger now. Process.environment.node environment equals triple equals development app.use Morgan then we express we will configure later. We'll just try starting this and see whether this runs fine. Constant port equals process.environment.port or 3000 you can simply run when it's running locally, but if we host it onto some hosting service, then we can't do that, right? So that's why I use process.environment.port app.listen port console.log server. We can't use this with backticks. Server running fine. Save this. Okay, now simply let's just try to start this and see what happens. Let's just do npm start first. What's the error? Okay, sorry. Alright, now you can see that server running in production mode, since we have this server running in, so server is running on production mode at on port 3000. Okay, now let's just try running that dev as well. Dev has the logger, right, Morgan, so it will automatically log every event that's happening on the server. Now it's running on development mode on port 3000, right? So yeah guys, now we have a express server that's running. All we need to do is write the code that we want on the backend to be executed, and this code is specific to saving some data onto the database as well as trying to access that particular data. That's it. Okay, so let's stop this for now and then start writing whatever we want on this particular server. So in order to do that, we are just going to be creating a couple of routes so that our app can hit those routes. Okay, so const express equals require const actions equals require this methods is the one that will be having all our actions. Okay, and const root, first we don't need this, we'll just use that later. Router equals express dot router. This is the crucial one that will perform the routing for us. So first I'll just create a simple route so that I can give you guys an example of what we are doing here. So I'll just create a backslash, and then this will simply take in and request and response, and we'll have a function to handle that particular route. So response dot send, I'll just say hello world. Fine, now we have a very simple route. Let's just export this, exports router. Fine, now what we can do is get back into server.js, and then we are going to be making use of that particular route, right? So for that we need to first get that route. Const routes equals require routes index.js. Fine, and then let's just make use of everything. app.use course, app.use body parser. This will be using later on. Body parser will be using later on. URL, I'll tell you guys what exactly we are using that for. URL encoded. Fonts, app.use body parser.json, app.use oops. Fine, I'll just save this. These body parser stuff I'll tell you guys later why we are using that. Okay, for now we just need these routes, and then once this is saved, just start the server. This will start it. Now all we need to do is get to a browser, and then just type http localhost 3000. You are seeing this hello world, right? This is nothing but our server that is running here. Get request, there was a get request made, and which is nothing but the one that's pointing here. So for the database was not showing up properly, right? That's because I gave the password wrongly in the configuration URL, guys. Now I just fixed that. Let's see if it shows correctly now. Because as soon as this connectdb is called, it should automatically try to make a connection to that database and say that the database has been connected as well, right? So let's see whether that happens now. Yeah, you can see this, right? MongoDB connected Raja cluster. This is from the database. As soon as it's connected, it's showing MongoDB connected, and it's just showing my cluster name, right? So yeah, this wasn't being shown before because here in my dbconfig.js I gave the password wrongly, guys. The connection URL that I showed, I gave the password wrongly. Now that I fixed it, it's automatically getting connected and being shown. So we have established a connection with the Mongo database as well. Sorry guys, sorry about that. Now let's go ahead and we are seeing this endpoint being hit, right? Now let's get back into roots and try to write more roots for this. So if I just write router dot, just copy that. Save this. The change should be picked automatically, and it just restarted. Fine. Now if I just hit dashboard, it's just showing dashboard, right? So our router is working fine, no issues here. Let's just go ahead and try to, first we'll just go ahead and try to add a user, okay, and then we'll try to authenticate him. That would be a better way, right? So let's just get into index.js, and now this is going to be serious. So, and now let's just try to add a new user. So this description would be and the endpoint would be I'll be writing the function separately. Okay, I'll just here is where I'll use this particular file. I'll just create a new directory, name that as methods, inside which I'll create a new file called actions.js, and inside this where user equals require, we need to define a user schema, right, before we actually try to create, we need to create a user schema. So for that, what I'll do is I'll once again create a new directory, name it as model, and then inside that I'll just go ahead and create a new file called user.js, and here I'll create a schema where mongoose equals require mongoose, where schema equals require why require, just mongoose dot schema, and where bcrypt equals require bcrypt, and where user schema equals new schema name type string required true. I'm just defining what needs to be a particular user, guys. It's a model, right? It's just a model, that's it. And then password type string required true. Fine. So both of these statements are now mandatory, both of these fields are now mandatory. Before saving the user, we'll just encrypt that password. Okay, so in order to do that, we need to write a pre-hook. So user schema schema.pre, and inside this we'll just, whenever the user is trying to save a new user, I'm just going to trigger a function next where user equals this. If this dot is modified, the field that we are looking for is password, or this dot is new. If the user is created new, then what we need to do is bcrypt.gensalt. I'll just use 10 function error salt. This is the salt that has been created. Used it to hash the error, return next of error, since we need to notify the server that's running. If not, bcrypt.hash user.password salt function. Okay, the thing that's happening here is I'm simply checking if it's new, if the save is happening for a new one, or if it's just the password is being modified. And then if that's the case, then I'm simply encrypting that password here, guys. It's just I'm creating a salt and then using that particular salt value to hash that entire password using this bcrypt module. And then once that password is encrypted, I am simply saving that onto the Mongo database. That's it. There's nothing fancy in this, guys. It's just a pre-hook is nothing but a hook that is written to do some operation on that particular field before it's getting saved onto Mongo database. That's it. Before it's getting saved onto this particular schema. That's it. Now what we'll do is we'll write one more function, user schema dot methods dot. This one we don't need to write it even now. We can write it later. We'll just do module dot exports mongoose dot model user schema. Fine, save this and then get back to actions.js, require models user where jwt equals require jwt simple where config equals require config db config. Fine. Now where functions, write the functions. First function that we need to do now is add new. This is the function that we are going to write. This is for adding the user. Add new function request response. If not, request.body.name or request.body.password, then simply send response.json, success, false, message, enter all fields. Okay, so if one of these two fields is missing, just send a response saying success, false, enter all fields, and if not else, where new user equals user, we are simply making use of this schema, guys. User name, request.body.name, password, request.body.password, new user.save, function, error, new user, if error, response.json, once again success, false, message, failed to save, else, response.json, success, true message, successfully saved. Fine. Now we have a function that will let us save a new user to the database. All we need to do is module.exports, and then so that we can use this function somewhere. Module.exports equals functions. Save this, get back to in roots. Here add user, simply do actions dot add new. Now you understand what's happening here, right? I'm simply using this particular function here. Whenever the user hits the add user root on the URL, then I'll simply invoke this add new function, which will just pick the name and password of the user's request and then try to save it onto the database. That's it. Okay, it's very simple, guys. Before saving, it will simply just encrypt the password and then save it. That's it. Okay, now we can obviously try and see if this is working fine as well before moving further. It's already restarted. So before trying it simply from your machine, you would need something, a tool like this called Postman. Okay, Postman is nothing but a tool that will help you hit your REST API endpoints and see if those are working fine. Okay, now as usual, HTTP localhost 3000. If I hit this, it should show hello world or something, right? Okay, the status is okay and it is showing hello world. Now since this is fine, I'll just select it as post, and then here I'll just give add user, right? What was that? Add user, and in the body simply select XXS form URL encoded. Why? Because we are using that body parser.url encoded, and not only that, we are also that's it. So I'll just give it here, and here I'll just give name test user and password test 123. If everything goes fine, this should get saved onto our database now, guys. So I'm just hitting on send. This is a post request. Success, false, enter all fields. The reason is okay, this is where it's getting blocked. This is because my coding mistake. I just failed to give a not symbol here. I make such careless mistakes and then sit for hours trying to debug through issues, guys. This is common with every other programmer as well, I guess. Hit like on this video and drop a comment if you make this mistake often as well. Anyway, yeah, let's just save this. See if the server is restarted. Yeah, it is restarted. Now let's just, at least we know that the URL, post URL is working. Let's just try to send this request again. Okay, successfully saved. Now if you get into this and just click on collections, you should be able to see our user. We have a users collection, and not only that, we have this test. These are some users that I created previously, guys. Ignore these. This is the user that we just created, right? Name test user, and password, as you can see, is the salted hashed version, not the version that you saved. The version that you saved was test123. But the version that got saved onto Firestore, I mean not Firestore, this is the MongoDB, right? This is a salted hashed version. This is because our hook that we wrote here, in actions we wrote, not actions, in the model file we wrote a hook, right? Whenever it was saving, we need to encrypt that entire thing and then save it. This got triggered and it the salted and hashed version of that password got saved, right? So now you can use your Flutter app to call this particular endpoint, and then you can't call this particular endpoint since it's running on your local machine. But you get the idea, right? This is how an endpoint can be created for saving that particular user. Now let's create one more endpoint for authenticating this particular user. If I need to authenticate against this particular user, let's see how to do that. So for that, first I'll just get into index.js and create a new root, router.post authenticate, and we'll create one more method in actions.js. Now the thing here is, before authenticating you need to compare passwords, right? When the user enters the password, you need to compare it against the one stored in the database. If the stored one is the salted hashed version, then how are you going to compare it with regular text? So first, for that, we will write another method in model.user.js. That method will be to compare two passwords. So right here after this, I'll just go ahead and write one more, user schema dot methods dot compare password. Function password, this will be a callback function, bcrypt dot compare password, this dot password function error is match. Fine. And if it's an error, we'll just return the callback with an error. If not, callback null mismatch. Fine. Now we have a function that will compare the password that's being sent to us. So we can just go ahead into actions.js and write a function that will authenticate the user for us. So just give a comma here and then authenticate. Once again, we'll just write a similar function, request response, and inside this user.find one. Name request.body.name. If error, throw error. If not, then if not user, that is if the user is not found, then response dot status. This is how you send error codes. Okay, so far we are just sending JSON messages, right? So if you just give it as status, then you can send an error code from directly from your backend. So I'll just send the error code 403 dot send false message authentication failed, user not found, and then else why is it not suggesting that? User dot compare password, request dot body dot password function if the password and username are a match, username we are finding it from here, guys. User.find one will just see if there is a name with this particular name and then give that document to us. So if that document is not found, I am simply returning a message called authentication failed, user not found. Okay, so if it is a match, then I am simply using the compare password method that I just wrote now. You remember, right? This password method that I just wrote, and then what I'm doing is this user schema will hold all the methods, guys. This user schema dot methods, I can write any number of functions that are associated with this particular schema. And if you remember, I'm using this entire model is based on this schema. So if I'm using this, wait, if I'm using this, then the user returned would be a user document, right? So if I just do user.compare password, then it means that I can use any method used on this particular schema, written on this particular schema. I hope you guys understand, right? This user is nothing but the model that was written here. The model is nothing but the model that was created based on the schema, this user schema. So this user schema, if I write a method on that called compare password, then automatically it will be mapped onto this, so if I use this and return a document, I can use whatever method I have already written on that particular schema, right? So I'm using user.compare password here. I hope you guys understood this. And if the password is a match, what we need to do is we need to send a JWT token. Authenticate, we need to send him a token using which he can send authenticated requests back to us. If it's not a match, we just need to send an error. That's it. So what I'll do is I'll just create the token equals JWT dot encode user config dot secret. This secret is nothing but the one that we created in the db config. Secret, your secret, something like that, we saved it, right? That's the one. Secret response.json, once again, success true, and token. Fine. So we are sending the token back to the user. You get it, right? If the user is authenticated, if this password matches success. Okay, if it's not success, then what we need to do is else return response.json, not JSON, status. We'll send another error message 403 dot send false message authentication failed wrong password. Fine. now we have a function that will authenticate the user for us. Cool, right? Now if we send a request with the one user that we just created, we should be able to authenticate. Save this. Now if we send a request hitting this URL along with the user parameters, then we should be able to get a token if it's successful. See if the thing has it has automatically restarted. Now let's get into Postman, and here instead of add user, if you just hit authenticate, hit on send, it should automatically return success true, and then it should return a token. Let's see what happens. Okay, we didn't get anything. Let's see where we went wrong. Okay, I made a mistake. Looks like I made a mistake. This is bcrypt, guys. I made another typo. I make such silly mistakes. As I said before, I keep debugging for hours after making such silly mistakes. Yeah, now let's see whether this goes fine. And let's hit send. Hola. It successfully authenticated, and not only that, it returned a token, right? This is the token, the authenticated token that you will be using to make requests. The user will be using to make requests as an authenticated user, right? Usually in big applications, whenever you sign up for those applications, the developer portal, they will give you a sandbox environment, and they will be telling you to use, they will be telling you to get authenticated to that, and they will give you a token, a test token, a developer token, a test token, and a production token, and all that, right? This is how they do it, guys. You can just create a backend, and then you can hand over this token to the user, and using this token, the user can make authenticated requests. That's it. Now what if we gave a wrong password? Authentication failed, wrong password. And not only that, we also hit the 403. 403 is the error that we sent, right? That was the one. If we give a wrong, if the password is right but the username is wrong, it shouldn't be able to find this user now, right? Authentication failed, user not found. So our system is working perfectly, right? Okay, now that we have this, let's go ahead and try to use our mobile application to create a mobile app. Or before that, shall we just write one more function? I'll just show you, it would be better if I just showed you how to use that particular authentication token to send a request, right? That would be an even better thing, right? You guys would even get a better idea. If I'll show you how to use that particular authentication token that's getting returned, and then send a request, authenticated request, and then how to handle that request on our server side. We need to handle that request, right? We need to split that token and handle that request. So I'll show you how to do that as well before moving on. So in order to do that, we need to use Passport and create a strategy to handle that. Okay. So the first thing I'll do is inside the config folder, I'll create another file. This file, I'll name it as passport.js. This is a strategy, guys. I'll talk about this later. It's like I said, if the user sends an authenticated request along with the token, we need to get that token, extract that token, and handle that, right? So we're going to be doing that. So I'll just create JWT strategy equals require passport JWT dot strategy. Fine. And then where extract JWT equals require passport JWT dot extract JWT. Fine. Where user equals require, this is our user model that we had. So models what was the file? User, yeah, user. And we'll also use the config require it is there here itself, right? db config, yeah, okay. Now module.exports equals function passport where options equals, just give it blank, options dot secret or key equals config dot secret options dot jwt from request equals extract jwt dot from auth header with scheme jwt. Fine. Now we have this token that was sent along with the request. The next thing we need to do is just use a strategy, passport dot use new jwt strategy options function jwt underscore payload. Done. Fine. And inside this user dot find once again id cool. Okay, this is simply to extract that particular JSON web token and then figure out if there is a user based on that. Okay, for now assume that this is to process that token, guys. That's it. Okay, I can't explain it in a simpler way. Assume that this is to process that authenticated, the JSON web token that's arriving with a request and see if the user is really an user. Okay. Now that this is done, if the token is, we have a strategy to process that particular token. Let's just get into actions.js and then write a function that will maybe tell the name of that particular user. Okay, so for that what I'll do is, after this authenticate function, I'll do get info function request response, and inside this if request dot headers dot authorization and request dot headers dot authorization dot split. The split will be based on a space 0. Bearer where token equal request dot headers dot authorization dot split. Once again, this time I'll just use 1 because this will be the token. After the bearer, there will be a space and there will be the token. That's how you usually send the request, right? Then after that, what you'll do is where encoded, sorry, not encoded, decoded token, right? Decoded token equals jwt.decode token config.secret. Fine. And return response.json. Else return response.json. Once again, success, false, message, no header. Fine, save this. Now get back into server.js. No, first get here and then let's add one. Now we need to make sure that we say this is using passport, right? Passport.initialize. Require, we can simply use our strategy that we used. Config passport save this. All right, this has been restarted. Let's just get into here and then do a get request. Oh, we need a token, right? Yeah, now you can see that it's just sending hello test user, which was the name of the user, in case you remember. We have it here, right? Test user, right? So yeah guys, this is exactly, now we have our backend that's perfect, right? We saw a lot of things here. We saw how exactly we could add new users to MongoDB. We saw how to authenticate those added users. We also saw how to send an authenticated request using a token. Now what we'll do is, this is all running on the local server, right? On my local machine that I'm using here. Now to use a Flutter application and send request to this particular application that we have here, what we should do is we should host it on to some hosting platform, right? Something like AWS or the one that we'll use today here is called Heroku. Heroku, I'm using it mainly because it offers a generous free tier and you can create up to 5 free applications. Okay, so first, if you haven't already signed up, just sign up for Heroku. Wait, let me open that up. Here I have already signed up. So if you are signing up as a new user, you would obviously need to install the Heroku CLI. There is something called Heroku CLI. Okay, and you need to install that on your machine. I have already installed that. It's pretty much easy, guys. It's just it will just give you a set of instructions. That's it. And then once you do that, just click on create new app. App name you can give anything: Flutter, Authentication, Auth demo. Okay, and then just create app. Okay, now first you need to these are the first you need, as I said, you need to install the Heroku CLI. If you haven't already, just download and install this using this particular link here. There will be separate versions for Windows, Linux and Mac. Pick which is suitable for you and install it. And then the next thing you need to do is follow the instructions here. Before doing all this, we need to create something called a proc file, guys. So I'll just do that. This proc file is nothing but the one that will say Heroku what to run as soon as the app is loaded. So inside the proc file, I'll just give okay, save this. We also would need to, it would be better if you added a git ignore file as well, and then simply add all the node modules so that the entire folder is ignored. Node modules. Save this. Fine. Close this. You can close this as well. Now simply follow the instructions given here. First you need to Heroku login. Okay, I have logged in. Now I just need, I'm already inside my project, git init. I just need to add this. Okay, this is added. Now git add. Okay, git this is done. Git, you should have probably added this directory to git ignore as well. Heroku master. Okay, once this is completely done, we will be given a web URL using which you can simply make the authenticated request to that particular URL. Now all you need to do is copy this link address. Like as you can see here, guys, I'm not running the local host. If I just hit enter, it will probably throw an error. So I'll just see, you can see hello world, right? So what are the routes that we have here without using any of those? You had one more, right? Dashboard. See, you get the dashboard as well. So now we have our app running on this particular URL endpoint. So we can make a request to this endpoint in order to see how our app is performing. So to get logs for this, just run Heroku logs tail. Tail will show you the latest logs. That's it. See, now if you just send a request, it's just showing the logs, right? So yeah guys, now we have hosted our backend application that we wrote using Node, Express and Mongo onto something called Heroku, and our database is stored on Atlas, MongoDB Atlas. So all we need to do is to create a Flutter application that will make calls to this particular endpoint so that we can test whether we can use our authentication system that we created entirely from scratch without using Firebase or anything. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Before that, I'll get some water, guys. Just give me 5 minutes. Alright guys, now as you can see here, I have a blank Flutter application. That's it. Now in order to make this to call our URLs that we just created, REST API endpoints that we just created, I'm going to be doing some modifications. I'll first create a couple of folders called screens, and one more thing. What was that? Services. Okay. And not only that, I'll be making use of a package called Dio, a plugin called Dio. You don't need to use this. You can simply use the HTTP that comes with Flutter by default. I'm just using this since I have used this before and I found it easier. But this is not necessary. Okay. And I'll also use something called a Flutter toast to show some nice toast messages. I install both of these, and inside the screens I'll create a file called login screen, and here I'll go ahead and write the code. Let me just do a simple screen, guys, nothing fancy in this. I'll just have a couple of text fields and a button, maybe. That's it. Okay. Here I'll simply do return scaffold. Alright, this is where we write the service that will authenticate our user, guys. Right now we simply have a login screen that has two text fields, name and password, and a button that says authenticate. Upon tapping this button, we need to do something that will make the call for us, right? That's exactly what we are going to be doing here. Class auth service do equals this is where we would need our this one. Data I'll write a do error. Save this. Okay, now I'm simply making a request to that particular authenticate URL and passing this name and password as data, and for options I'm just using the URL form encoded content type, form URL encoded content type, and here I just need to call this particular function. So what does that function name? Login, right here. Fine. If it is success, then it will show authenticated. That's it, guys. Let's just run. No, before we can run this, we need to ensure that this is being called instead of this home page app, right? Fine. Let's just run this on the mobile device and see if we are able to authenticate a user successfully, guys. Alright, guys, now as you can see here on our mobile device, we have the name and password field and an authenticate button, right? Let's just try authenticating with the user that we already have. Test user and just give the password. Test 1 2 3, and then if I just tap on authenticate now, it should connect with the URL and then do the authentication for us, and if it's successful it should show authenticated or some other message, something like that, right? What was that? It should show authenticated. That's it. Let's just try tapping on authenticate. See, it showed, right? It just showed an authenticated message, right? If you can see here, did I just stop that? Yeah, I stopped that. See, post authenticate. This is the request that we just made. If we make a error, maybe test you search. Okay, this user is not there in the DB, right? If I just tap on authenticate now, watch what happens. It will just throw up an error. The debugger catches it, but see, authentication error. You just saw the toast, right? Authentication error, user not found or something. Wait, I'll do it again. Just watch the device. User not found. Authentication failed. User not found. If it is some other wait, if it's the wrong password, authentication failed, wrong password. So our system that we already have running on Heroku works fine as well. As you can see here, it makes the requests, authenticate requests, all the requests that we made just now, right? So this is working fine. Now let's go ahead and try to do that get info, the request about the information about the authenticated user we have, or we'll just do the add new user and then go for get info. Okay. Save this, get into auth service.dart and then start writing code. You would obviously need to surround this as well with the try catch statements, just like I did here, but you can try that on your own, right? For now I'll just give the bare bones version here. Instead of login, just fine. Now I'll just give a new name, phone user, password, phone 1 2 3. Now if I just tap on add user, it should successfully add that user, right? Let's just tap and see what happens. Successfully saved. You get a message saying successfully saved, right? So if you get into the logs, add user has been called, and not only that, if you get into the DB, you should be able to see that new user that got added as well. I'll just click on refresh. See, as you can see here, the phone user and the password, the hashed salted version of that password is also added here. So we are now able to create as users from, we are now able to sign up users from the phone as well. Now you might want to save a picture here on the DB as well, right, for this user. For picture saving pictures, I'll show exactly how to do that in the next video. Okay. Now we'll just see the one more endpoint that we just created. What was get info, right? We'll just go ahead and see how to write some code for that as well, and then wrap up this video. So just get to login screen. Token, adding an authorization token using DO is a little bit different, guys. Using the default HTTP that comes with Flutter, it's pretty much easy, but with DO you would need to do something like this. DO dot I think it's something like this, options dot headers, and then you need to specify that explicit header authorization authorization equals bearer token, fine, and return await once again. This is a get request, right? So get. Okay, so for this button to work, we need to be authenticated first, right? And once you are authenticated, the token will be saved onto this token variable, which will then be used for our authenticated request, to send our authenticated requests, right? So first I'll just authenticate. If I just tap on authenticate button, it shows authenticated, right? Now I have been authenticated and I have a token stored as well. Now I can use that particular token and it should show me hello plus my name, right? So let's just tap on get info, hello phone user, right? So I just authenticated using phone user and it's showing hello phone user, right? Now if I authenticate using my previous, what was that? I had a previous thing, right? Test user. Authenticated using this particular user. Now if I tap on get info, hello test user, right? So we are able to perform authenticated requests on this particular endpoint, the application that we just created. So in this particular video, we just saw how to create a complete application, guys, a complete authentication system from scratch. This was not using Firebase. We just have our own database. We just wrote our own backend. We wrote our own REST API endpoints using Express. And not only that, we hosted that particular backend that we wrote on something called Heroku. And from there, Heroku was able to connect to Cloud Mongo, the Mongo database on the cloud. Not only that, we used Mongoose to define a particular user schema, and we were able to save data onto that particular user schema. And not only that, we are also able to authenticate the users from our Flutter mobile application. And we also saw how to send authenticated requests from the mobile application to that particular system that we have running in the backend, running as the backend, right? So yeah, this is how you write an entire system from scratch, guys. Now obviously, as we get into deeper levels, the stuff becomes more and more complicated. But if you want to watch that as well, kindly let me know. It will be really boring, guys. But for those who are interested in system design, then it will be really interesting as you get deeper and deeper. You can build out entire systems using entire systems are being built all around the world using such methodologies, guys. Node is one of the most popular servers that is currently being used. And not only that, MongoDB is also being widely used around the planet. So yeah, guys, if you want to watch more stuff related to this particular way of development, kindly let me know and I'll show you guys how to do this. That is writing Flutter applications without Firebase, writing our own server, writing our own backend, and then writing our own mobile applications based on that particular backend. This is how real businesses will want you to write applications, guys. They won't ask you to just use Firebase or anything. This is how real applications are built. Real applications require a lot of patience, hard work, effort, and coffee, and you'll also need to go through a lot of headache and all that. Anyway, if you found this video helpful, kindly share it with someone and help them too, and kindly hit the like button. If you like this video, kindly hit the like button. It will help me a lot. And kindly subscribe to my channel, guys. Subscribe to my channel, it's free. Just subscribe and hit on the bell icon so that you can see all my you can receive a notification each and every time I upload a new video. In the future we will start going into deeper into real world application development, guys, rather than just doing UI challenges or just doing basic beginner videos. We'll dive deeper into dive deeper into application development, both using Firebase and without using Firebase. So yeah, guys, I'll be making a lot of videos in the future till the end of this year. Kindly subscribe to my channel, hit the bell notifications icon so that you can follow these videos as well, and kindly leave a comment if you get stuck somewhere in between in this video. This is a long video, right? Kindly leave a comment so that I can help you guys out, and I would highly appreciate it if you could follow along with this video and try this out so that you can understand my future videos, my upcoming videos in a better way as well, right? So yeah, guys, hit the like button and I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Bye.